RFK Jr.'s running mate, Nicole Shanahan, is saying that they're going to endorse Donald Trump, or at least that it is a possibility that they are going to team up with Donald Trump to prevent a Kamala Harris presidency. Today, we're going to be looking at the electoral map and what would happen if Donald Trump is endorsed by the RFK campaign. Make sure to hit the like button and to subscribe for your number one stop for all things elections and polling analysis in the United States. And so, looking at the map, right now Harris is leading by about a point or so in the RCP average for the 2024 election. And in the new aggregate, we have seen that, within the full field, she is performing slightly better when you include RFK on the ballot. Now, this may be due to a response bias, which I think is the case as well. However, there may be a growing, sentiment where Trump really is losing some support to RFK. And so I have a feeling possibly that more than likely if RFK were to go out there and endorse Trump support would actually go up probably about a 1 or 2% nationwide. So that would essentially make the popular vote about tied or so. And so looking at the Republican states, you have Idaho, Utah, Wyoming, Montana, the Dakotas, all of Nebraska, except the 2nd Congressional District. You also have Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, West Virginia, Iowa, as well as Ohio in this column. Now, funny enough, I just realized these are not going to be in the safe column. However, what's really interesting is that we do have some data out of the 2024 Florida primaries, and we see that Republicans are leading by about 13 points in the electorate, which is very interesting because I have been telling you guys for a long time that yes, my model has Trump winning Florida by 6.7%, but I suspected that the electorate is going to be a lot more redder than what was being shown then, and we clearly see the electorate's about R plus 13. Now, this isn't indicative of the general race, but is as close as to what we could possibly get, and we see that Republicans are ahead substantially in the electorate. We do not know where independents break yet. We will be looking at results at about 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. And so at this point, so this is really interesting because it's like, well, if Trump wins independents in Florida, he's going to win the state by over 15. So I'd actually say that Florida and Texas may be safe Republican states, especially if Donald Trump is gaining in Texas quite a bit with Hispanics. Even Greg Abbott won the governor's race there by about 11 points in 2022 in a cycle where Republicans underperformed, and he still won somewhat easily and did moderately well with Hispanics. So there is a possibility that you may see, certain states be safe with RFK endorsing Donald Trump. We also have California still safe. Washington, I believe, would be in the likely column, as well as Oregon being in the likely column. I think that Colorado would probably be a likely Democrat state. Alaska would be likely Republican on the map. We'd also have the state of Hawaii in the safe Democrat column still. Illinois in this scenario would be likely, including New York, as well as a lot of the northeastern states would be safe. However, Delaware and New Jersey, as well as Connecticut, these states would still be in the likely Democrat column. Now, Iowa and Ohio would be around 13 to 14 point victories. I believe the Hispanic and African American vote is probably going to trend to the right more than the white vote, and that's why you see Texas and Florida voting to the right of states like Iowa and Ohio in this forecast. I also think North Carolina would be a likely Republican state on the map, possibly a 6 to 7 point victory. And looking at Maine second, probably in the safe column, with Maine at large being somewhat competitive. I'd say about 2 to 3 points for Harris if RFK were to endorse Trump. I'd also see New Hampshire being a big possibility as well, of being somewhat more competitive, about a 1 to 2 point race for Harris. She's polling pretty well there, like 7 to 9 points, so I don't really think she loses New Hampshire. So even with the RFK endorsement, she'd still probably do well in the Northeast. I believe that Georgia would be a pretty easy victory as well for Donald Trump. If RFK were to endorse him, he'd probably win the state by about 5 or 6 points. Arizona and Nevada would still be, or at least Arizona, I believe, would still be under 5, but it would be a lot more competitive. Now, New Mexico is interesting because if Harris is really doing this much better, or Donald Trump is doing this much better with Hispanics, you'd expect this race to be close. So I'd say about a 1 to 3 point win for Harris. Arizona's about 3 to 4 for Trump. Nevada like 5 to 6 for Trump, similar to Georgia. And coming up here, I think Minnesota would still be close, but I think Harris would narrowly win the state, even if RFK were to endorse Donald Trump, just because she'd probably perform well enough in Hennepin to narrowly hold on. I also think Wisconsin would be in the lean column, as well as Michigan and Pennsylvania, presumably because the white vote would not be shifting to the right by as much as Hispanics, and that's why you do see a little bit of a weird electorate where Republicans are doing very well in the South, but are not doing as well up north. The up northern vote seems a little bit more backwards, but it's mainly because Donald Trump wouldn't be gaining with whites the same way. Nebraska second, I do think would flip in this scenario. And then Virginia is the interesting one because we did just get a new poll out of Virginia that has the state close despite all the other states going up for Harris. And so the state may be trending to the right to the point where if Donald Trump were to be endorsed by RFK, there is a big possibility that Virginia could actually flip to the former president in this scenario and would be a pretty interesting outcome. That gives Donald Trump 326 electoral college votes to Harris's 212 electoral college votes. So if you guys did enjoy this, make sure to hit the like button and to subscribe if you want more content just like this. And I will see you guys in the next video.